It is Yankee Stadium on the opening weekend across Major League Baseball, and it is a beautiful day here on this first Saturday, April the 2nd. There's your matchup, Detroit and New York. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Joe Buck with half a voice, but gosh darn it, we're going to play hurt. It's our 16th season covering Major League Baseball here on Fox, and I wouldn't want to be standing next to anybody different than the guy who's walk over here. This guy, Tim McCarver, who joins me here today. And Tim, the Detroit Tigers have not been to the postseason in 4 years. What do they have to do to get back?
I think one of the big problems with the Tigers, they couldn't win on the road last year. They won only 29 of 81 games on the road. And as everybody knows, you've got to win on the road if you expect to get to the postseason.
The Yankees were a wild card team last year. They've been to the postseason 9 of the last 10 years, have won it all only once over the last 10 seasons. Today they hand the ball to A.J. Burnett.
And A.J. Burnett, in my opinion, of all the teams that have aspirations of going to the postseason, he's the most important guy to anybody, and his success is dependent on whether the Yankees are going to make it or not.
So off we go, Tigers and Yankees on opening weekend across MLB. Bought Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some buds. We are at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, where it is 53 degrees. A little better than on Thursday when it was misty and a little colder. Speaking of a cold, here's a guy who's got a cold. Not just the one talking to you, but the one on the mound. And here's the Taco Bell starting lineup for the Tigers. And it's A.J. Burnett that has to deal with it. Austin Jackson leads it off, and it's Will Rhymes batting in the second spot. Ordonez hits third. Cabrera, Martinez, Bosch, Johnny Peralta, Alex Avila, and batting ninth is the third baseman, Brandon Inge.
And it's vital for A.J. Burnett to get off to a good start for the New York Yankees. capped by Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager, as their number 2 starter. CC Sabathia opening game 1. And A.J. Burnett vital to the Yankees' success. His mechanics can be changed, but his confidence from within, that'll have to come from him. Larry Rothschild, the new pitching coach for the Yankees, changing his mechanics in spring training. So we'll see.
Austin Jackson is first up, and strike 1. And for Austin, who had 170 strikeouts a year ago, opening day didn't go so well. He did get a hit, but he struck out 3 times. And this guy, Austin Jackson, puts the ball in play. He's tough to retire. He can run, and he takes up and away, ball 1. Will Rhymes will follow, and then Maglio Ordonez is hitting in the number 3 spot. Here comes a 1-1. Good breaking ball, strike 2. Nice tight curveball from A.J. Burnett. When he is on, that's his calling card.
It's the best in the business.
Here's a 1-2. That's foul. So the Tigers last year ended up the season at a .500 record, 81 and 81. For Jim Leyland, who's in the final year of his contract, he came up empty again, trying to get this franchise back to the playoffs, where they have not been since they went to the World Series in 2006. Here's a 1-2. 1 out. Good start for Burnett. Take a look at the defensive alignment for the Yankees, and it's brought to you by Scott's. Gardner, Granderson, Swisher in the outfield with A-Rod, Jeter, Cano, Teixeira. Third to first, the catcher is Russell Martin, the former Dodger. And on the mound is A.J. Burnett. As we told you, he was 10 and 15 a year ago with a career high ERA at 5.26. Here's Will Rhymes. And the first from Burnett. Up high for ball 1.
That's the one thing you want to do against A.J. Burnett if you're a hitter, is to try to attack him early in the count, because that's when you're going to get more fastballs. If he gets ahead of you and throws that curveball.
Ball 2. It is not an optical illusion. Will Rhymes is actually that small. He's not a big guy at all, but he is one of those try-hard players, kind of like a David Eckstein. Physically, doesn't look like a big league ball player, but he is tough. He came up and hit well, and he won the second base job during the spring. There's a strike, 2-1. Talking to Jim Leyland before the game, he said, you know, if we call a guy like Rhymes up, he hits well, and then we don't use him, or we send him right back to the minor leagues and don't give him a chance, what does that say to the rest of the guys in our system? 2 out. A strikeout, a line out, and the batter will be Ordonez with the bases empty. And time now for the Ford Keys to the game.
Only the second game of the season, obviously, after an off day yesterday. The Tigers, we mentioned, good at home, 52 and 29, and the direct opposite on the road, 29 and 52. And for the Yankees, it's pretty easy. They need a good outing from their right-hander today.
Maglio Ordonez played in only 84 games last year, had a broken ankle, and he comes up empty. Strike 1, 94 miles per hour on the heater from Burnett. There are the numbers for a guy who is one of the better hitters still in the game. Over 300 with his lifetime average, and pretty good 3-4 combination for Detroit with Cabrera behind him. That's fouled, and that's strike 2.
One of those 300 seasons for Maglio, a batting championship back in 2007, the first Tiger to win an American League title since Norm Cash back in 1961. And with the shadows, very difficult to hit under these circumstances.
Here's an 0-2 and another foul. So the sun pops out, and all in all, despite some terrible forecasts going into the opening weekend of the season, gotten along pretty well across Major League Baseball. As we start the season earlier, trying to get the World Series finished before Christmas. Here's an 0-2. Breaking ball is fouled right at the plate. And the count stays 0-2. On deck is Cabrera. And we are awaiting the debut of Brad Penny in a Tigers uniform, the right-hander who last year was with St. Louis. He'll get the ball today for Jim Leyland. Ordonez with a count 0-2. That is foul back toward the Yankee dugout. Russell Martin is out of room. And the count remains 0-2, but a lot of strikes here from A.J. Burnett in the opening inning.
Russell Martin, after toiling for the Dodgers for so many years, his first year in a Yankee uniform, signing a one-year contract for $4 million. Worked well with Burnett during spring training, and a real learning process, not only offensively to learn a new league, but learning a new pitching staff too.
Another 0-2 pitch is on the way, and a strikeout ends the top of the first. Another good curveball. 2 strikeouts for Burnett. Bottom of number 1 rolls in. Brad Penny rolls out. No score. For the bottom of the first inning, here's the Yankee lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. It is Gardner, Jeter, and Teixeira, the top 3. A-Rod, Cano, Nick Swisher in the middle. With Jorge Posada now the DH for New York. Curtis Granderson went deep in the opener. And Russell Martin is now in the American League and catching for New York. There are the numbers for Brad Penny, who had a muscle pull in his back up by his right shoulder, and that shut him down last year when he was in St. Louis.
Brad Penny's 6th major league team, and with St. Louis, Jim Leyland talking to his old buddy Tony La Russa about Brad Penny. Brad Penny 5-1 last year with the Cardinals. His 5th team in the last 4 seasons. He beat the Yankees, you may remember, twice in the 2003 World Series. Normally that would earn someone an MVP, but his teammate Josh Beckett won the MVP when the Marlins beat the Yankees in 03.
Yeah, Penny's a guy who was a 2-time All-Star back with the Dodgers, was 32-13 combined between 06 and 07. So he has tasted success in the big leagues, and he's trying to find it now in a one-year deal with the Tigers. First pitch, a strike to Brett Gardner. Gardner was 0 for 2, dropped down a couple of bunts in the opener on Thursday, a game that the Yankees won pretty much according to plan. As you look at the defense and how they play Gardner in the outfield to go the other way. 0-1. And he does go the other way in the left center field, and Bosch comes in to grab it. 1 out. The defensive alignment for the Tigers is brought to you by Scott's. You know, Bosch is in left. Austin Jackson, former Yankee farmhand, in center. Ordonez in right. With Inge, Peralta, Rhymes, and Cabrera around the infield, and Avila does the catching. Penny is on the mound. The DH is the big free agent addition. The the Tigers brought in Victor Martinez. Here is Jeter, who at some point is going to tire hearing about his quest for 3,000 hits. 74 hits away and an RBI on Thursday, and he takes a ball. So much has been written about the change in the approach at the plate of Derek Jeter. He's cut down his stride, working with Kevin Long, the Yankees hitting instructor, who's the most famous hitting instructor in all of baseball. Here's a ground ball up the middle. Rhymes can make the play, and now 73 hits away. And Jeter has his first hit of 2011. Here is Derek Jeter talking about what he's doing differently at the plate.
Basically just trying to shorten a stride. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that. I know there's been dissected and talked about all over the place, but I'm just trying to eliminate a little bit of stride. I got some bad habits last year. I'm trying to fix it.
And when your stride is too long, there's no stride at all right there. Derek Jeter picking the toes up, the heel down, and his first hit of the year.
Here's Teixeira, who went deep on Thursday, a 3-run shot up Verlander. It was crunched right down the right field line. He's had 7 straight years of 100 or more RBIs. A run producer and typically a slow starter, but he was all smiles on Thursday when he took Verlander, one of the best pitchers in the game, certainly, into the seats in right.
I'd like to complete that thought, Joe. When the stride is too long, then you deplete the power. You bring your hands forward. Some of your power leaves, and there are very few guys that can hit with a stride that's too long. That's why Derek.
Avila can't keep the ball at the plate, and Jeter is down to second on a wild pitch.
That's why Derek has cut down on it. We'll take one more look after Derek Jeter says he's cut down on his stride, on the toes, heel down, no stride, base hit.
And let's just you and I make a pact right now, okay?
Okay.
If you have any thoughts that you want to complete, go right ahead.
Okay.
I mean, just jump in.
Does that go for the full year or
full
just
year.
today?
No,
full year.
I would say that's something that'll carry over.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Got a deal.
Really, don't be shy.
Okay.
2-1 pitch is outside. 3 balls and a strike with Rodriguez on deck. Trying to squeak out words over here. If you want to jump in with anything, like who you dated in high school, just fire it out there. Jeter at second with 1 out here in the first inning. No score and a 3-1 pitch. Up and away. A hit and a walk.
That was a while ago. I'd have to consult some old notes.
They're not watching. Nobody's going to call you on it. Here comes Alex Rodriguez. And if you talk about streaks, first of all, I was shocked to even look, and it's something I should probably know, but I was shocked to realize that Alex Rodriguez is now in his 8th season here with the New York Yankees.
I was likewise shocked. I did not realize that. Thought it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But here it is, his 8th.
Boy, time must be flying for you. 2 on with 1 out. That's down into the right field corner. Well hit. Up against the wall. 1 run will score. That's Jeter. Going to third is Teixeira. It's an RBI double. 1-0 New York. And Brad Penny is right into trouble in his first inning with the Tigers.
Alex Rodriguez throughout his career has loved that fastball out over the plate. Tremendous power the other way. Had Will Rhymes, the second baseman, gone immediately to second base, there's a chance that he could have had A-Rod. However, realizing his first responsibilities home, he looked home, and by the time he looked to second, A-Rod had a double.
Anything you read about the Yankees during the spring was about how Alex Rodriguez looks different here in 2011 than he has certainly since the hip surgery prior to the season 2 years ago. He had a great spring, and after doubling in the opener, he has an RBI double here. Here's Cano. And with all the platitudes you can say about Alex Rodriguez, you could make a strong case that the best player for the New York Yankees is standing at the plate right now, Robinson Cano.
Yep. We did the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays as the first game last year. CC Sabathia had a no-hitter for 7 1/3. We talked about Robinson Cano being a batting champion someday. Well, he had 319 last year. Not too shabby.
That's up the middle. A run scores. Peralta can't make the play. It's 2-0 New York. It's an RBI base hit for Cano, and that's RBI number 1 on the season for the Yankees second baseman.
2 tough plays up the middle. One to Will Rhymes off the heel of his glove, and now one to the shortstop, Johnny Peralta. Both of those plays could have been made. There were tough plays. That one of the two been made, an easier inning for Penny.
But that's part of the story this season for Detroit. I mean, defensively, they've got a good center fielder in Austin Jackson. They've got a very good third baseman in Brandon Edge, but there are some question marks at key spots, and I think there's certainly one at short with Peralta.
Yep.
Here's Nick Swisher. Ball 1. I mean, Peralta's a guy that the Indians moved out of shortstop and put him at third base and moved Asdrubal Cabrera into the shortstop position, and now the Tigers, after initially declining a $7 million option on Peralta, brought him back on a 2-year deal to play short, and he's got a lot to prove. That's into left. Will score a run as Bosch makes the catch. In to score is Alex Rodriguez. And for the Yankees, it has been a productive first inning. It's 3-0.
We talked about the 2 plays in the infield with 1 out and nobody on. Derek Jeter, Rhymes to his right. Can't make the play. Tough play. Not as tough a play for Peralta. And Johnny come up with that ball. Probably gets the out at first base. Both of those balls that were hit, by the way, scored as hits.
And here's Posada, who has to try and settle into a DH role. Long-time catcher here with the Yankees. Ball 1. Jorge is, as a DH, just a .220 hitter in his career. So now the runner is Cano at first. He's the only one on. 2 out, 3 runs are home. And the Yankees have a 3-run cushion for Burnett. It's ball 2.
Joe, you talk about from the dramatic to the sublime, going from catching and being involved in every play, initiating every play when you put fingers down, to becoming a DH. You can imagine Jorge Posada with as many at-bats this year probably as he's ever had during the major leagues, because he doesn't have to go behind the plate.
That's ball 3.
Jorge turning 40 on August 17th, and he has just had a splendid career.
Waiting on a 3-0 pitch from Penny. And it's a strike. Well, I know you have admired the career. The guy who at first was the understudy to his now manager Joe Girardi when the streak started in '96. But he has been front and center. Girardi won 3 rings as a player, 1 as a manager. That's low. And 2 walks here in the first inning for Brad Penny. How about the differences in the Yankees as Rick Knapp, the pitching coach, will go out and talk. The year in review last year, there's the record, 95-67. They were the wild card winners. They lost to the Rangers in the American League Championship Series. They don't get Cliff Lee. Andy Pettitte retires. And for at least the pitching staff, the big addition is the right-handed reliever who led the AL in saves last year, Rafael Soriano, to set up the game's best, Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, the Yankees taking a double pop as far as their starting pitching was concerned with the retirement of Andy Pettitte. Not signing Cliff Lee, he signed with the Phillies. But the Yankees, a lot of people think, and I'm one of them, the Yankees still have enough for their offense to carry them. And as your point is, if they get into July, they're the type team with deep enough pockets who can go out and get their starting pitcher.
Here's Granderson, strike 1. You cannot make the mistake of judging this Yankee team here in April. They're going to hit enough and they're going to score enough to hang around in what should be a tough division. It always is. They go in as kind of the underdog, but you know, you got a $203 million payroll and a chance to add to it. It's tough to figure a team in that category as an underdog.
Well, if they're an underdog, they're a strong underdog.
Granderson takes ball 1. But you have to believe that when July rolls in, wherever they are, depending on what happens with other teams and other races, they will be buyers at the deadline, and it could completely change the complexion of this 2011 Yankees team as a whole. There's a swinging strike. It's 1-2 on Granderson. Two on, 2 out, 3 runs are home for the Yankees here in the first inning, as they have sent 8 men to the plate. And Curtis Granderson looks for more damage against his former team. He homered here to break a 3-3 tie on Thursday in a Yankee win. That's a foul to keep it 1-2. Here it is. He did it all. Here's his catch in the first inning to rob Will Rhymes. Then he goes deep in the 7th inning to give New York a 4-3 lead. And then in the 9th, with Rivera on the mound, look at this catch on the dead run, hauled it in, and the Yankees were 1 out away from their eventual win. That pitch is low, and the count 2-2.
How sweet it was for Granderson on Thursday, not only to get a home run, a game-winning home run, even though it was in the 7th inning against the team from which you were traded, but a pitcher for whom you were traded, Phil Koch, one of the 3 that came over to the Tigers.
Here's a 2-2. Still 2-2. Granderson really started to turn it on at the end of last year, and when you look at the overall body of work, the average was down, but he did hit 24 home runs. And last year against his former club, he went to work, a .462 average, and a guy who was 3rd in baseball with his 10 home runs from the end of August through the end of the regular season a year ago. 2 on with 2 out and a 2-2 pitch to the right side, and Rhymes gobbles it up. Good inning for New York. 3 runs, 3 hits, 2 left after 1. 3-0 Yankees. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun, and by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. So a 3-0 Yankee lead, and Detroit will send the middle three to the plate here in the second with Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Brennan Bosch. And here is Miguel Cabrera, who since his first full season back in 2004, he is number 5 across baseball in the RBI totals behind Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Ortiz, and Mark Teixeira. Kenny Rosenthal is with us, as he is most Saturdays. And Ken, I know it was your objective this weekend to sit down and talk with Miguel Cabrera, who has been through a lot the last couple of years, and his issues with alcohol reared their ugly head in February in spring training.
Right, Joe. I asked for an interview before the game, a taped interview, and the Tigers said I could ask baseball questions only. Well, those conditions were not acceptable. I know this is a pending legal matter, but all I wanted to do was ask Miguel, hey, how sorry are you? How are you doing? And how confident are you that you can resolve your problems in the future? Now, he has spoken only once about this so far, right after reporting to spring training. He answered initially in English, apologizing for what he had done, and then he answered questions only in Spanish. So really, he has not talked about this at great length.
Kenny, thanks. After a strike now pitch in the dirt, Miguel was arrested on DUI charges in Florida, and it was his second alcohol-related incident in the last 17 months, and he had previously had outpatient counseling for alcohol abuse with an ugly end to the season back in 2009. On the field, he's had a very good spring, and during the regular season, this guy is one of the most feared hitters that any lineup features in this league or in the National League.
And he has been since breaking in with the Florida Marlins back in 2003.
Had a hit and an RBI on Thursday in the opener, and he fouls this one back to the right. The count evens 2-2. It's Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and then Brennan Bosch, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters for Detroit.
Martinez picked up as protection for Cabrera. He didn't have that last year with 32 intentional walks.
Here's a 2-2 into right center field. That ball's going to get down and scoot to the wall. Digging in for second is Cabrera, and he's got a leadoff stand-up double here to start inning number 2, and this guy can just flat out mash a baseball.
That just takes so much strength to hit a ball on the inside part of the plate and have it carry as well as it did to right center field. This ball inside part, and Cabrera so strong. Talked about that stride by Derek Jeter. Just an opening of the left foot by Cabrera, and he doubles to right center.
Brings in Victor Martinez, who is, at least going into the season, supposed to be predominantly the designated hitter for Jim Leyland. But Jim was candid with us before the game. He said, with our catching situation, if Victor Martinez is our DH and I have to pinch hit late for Avila, I will quickly become a National League manager because I can put Martinez in from the DH spot to catch. And when that happens in the American League, you lose the DH and the pitcher spot enters the lineup.
I don't think I've ever heard an American League manager since the designated hitter back in 1973 say that at any time during the season he'll go from an American League manager to a National League manager, but Jim told us that before the game.
0-1 the count on Victor, who had a hit in 4 at-bats on Thursday. Last year was with the Red Sox. Had a good year swinging. It hit .302, was an all-star, but he has a tough time throwing out runners. When you talk about defensive issues, that's something that could factor in if the Tigers are forced to put Martinez back behind the plate more than they hope to. If Avila struggles, the second-year catcher. Here's an 0-1, and now strike 2.
With all that said, by the way, Victor will be the catcher for the 1 o'clock game that the Tigers play the Yankees tomorrow at Yankee Stadium.
Count 0-2. Brennan Bosch on deck. This is a Tiger team that last year, with Bosch off to the great start he got off to, Tigers were in first place the weekend before the All-Star game, but then things started to fall apart and they ended up a 500 ball club. 0-2 is the count on Martinez. Burnett has struck out 2 and he misses high and away, ball 1. There's Bosch next. Three nothing Yankees here in the second. Two and two. We came on the air, Tim. You talked about A.J. Burnett being more important than anybody else, certainly in any rotation, among the potential contenders across baseball. And for a guy in Burnett who last year started the season as the number 2 starter in the rotation, ended up not even pitching in the division series.
Look at that graphic. First pitcher in Yankees history with at least 15 losses and an earned run average over 5.
And yet a guy who's got great stuff.
Unbelievable.
I mean, knee buckling curveball.
Yep.
And a fastball that is consistently mid-90s. That's the frustration of A.J. Burnett.
Right.
Here's a 2-2. There's the fastball, and there's strikeout number 3. 1 out here in the second.
Something you don't often see. Victor Martinez going down on strikes. 94-mile-an-hour high fastball to get Martinez.
And it brings in Bosch. Talk about that good start last year. Brennan, before the All-Star break, was hitting .342. 12 home runs, 49 RBIs. Second half fell apart. That gets away. And Martin will make no throw. Over to third goes Cabrera on a wild pitch.
That's the thing about Burnett. That breaking ball, that was a 58-footer getting by Russell Martin. Russell Martin's never caught a curveball like this, like the one A.J. Burnett throws.
And yet how much air has been wasted talking about the relationship between A.J. Burnett and his catchers over the last couple of seasons. Here's a shattered bat, foul ball, and the business end of the bat ends up right next to Mark Teixeira.
Well, what you're talking about echoes the problem that A.J. Burnett had with Jorge Posada. It was never admitted, but he wanted Francisco Cervelli to be his catcher the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, the year before was Jose Molina.
Yeah, that's right.
So it wasn't just Cervelli. It was at some point it was anybody but Jorge Posada.
Right. 16 wild pitches on the year last year. He hit 19 batters. That led the major leagues.
Here's a 1-1. Good pitch over the inner part, strike 2. But he's a guy that opponents and scouts watch his body language around the mound more than just about any other starting pitcher across baseball.
That's why we were saying you could change the mechanics, but he's got to change the confidence.
Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Up and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's been fighting off a cold, so that factors in. He did appear here on Thursday on that rain-soaked cold day for the opening day ceremonies, and now he's on the mound with a 3-0 lead. Runner at third with 1 out. RBI chance here for Brennan Bosch. Strike 3. Got him looking, and he sneaked a fastball in there for strikeout number 4.
That's a good sign for the Yankees and Burnett. And he has gotten 2 straight strikeouts here in the second inning. The man in scoring position, both with fastballs.
And it brings in Peralta. See, Larry Rothschild is in his first year as the pitching coach for Joe Girardi. Previous 9 he was with the Cubs. He's been a manager, was the first manager of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays back then. back in '98 and was fired in 2001. Now it's up to Rothschild to find the right words for A.J. Burnett, who fires a 93-mile-per-hour strike to Peralta. Johnny was hitless on Thursday and waits for an 0-1 pitch with Cabrera at third, 2 out. Strike 2. And now Burnett after that leadoff double. And eventually the wild pitch could strike out the side here in the second. Good block by Martin. On deck is Avila, the number 8 hitter and the catcher now for Detroit. Just missed. 2-2.
Fastball away.
With a runner at third, 2 out. Here's a 2-2 pitch. And a pop up out behind second. It'll carry out to center and now keep carrying. Wynn pushes it, and Granderson with an easy catch. Leadoff double. No damage against Burnett after an inning and a half. 3-0 Yankees. Ball is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Beautiful day at Yankee Stadium, about as nice as you could hope for. Temperature in the 50s. There is Dan Iasonia. The crew chief is Dale Scott. Iasonia's out at second base. He's joined by Jerry Meals and C.B. Bucknor. And Iasonia is a graduate of Connecticut back in 1991, so he will be rooting tonight in the second game as UConn takes on Kentucky. Meanwhile, Brandon Inge, the third baseman for the Detroit Tigers, went to Virginia Commonwealth. And there in the first game against Butler, that's fouled out of play, and strike 2 on Russell Martin.
How about that? The little town of Richmond, Virginia, only 250,000 people. had 2 schools in the final 16. And Virginia Commonwealth in the final 8 in Houston. Or final 4, I'm sorry.
They were also in the final 8.
Yeah.
But that wasn't in Houston.
No.
Here's the 0-2. And a strikeout for Penny. That's his first of the day. Ken Rosenthal is still with us. Still wearing his bow tie, which we'll get into in a minute. But I know you talked to Brandon Inge about his days at Virginia Commonwealth and what he hopes to do watching some of that game at some point.
Well, he's got a problem, Joe. This game here started at 4:10. The VCU game starts about 6:10 tonight. So I asked Brandon how he is going to keep track of that game while this one is still going on, assuming it is, of course. And he said basically he won't be distracted, but guys will be coming in from the clubhouse giving him updates.
If you had to assume something, would you assume that this game will still be going on at 6:10?
No disrespect to A.J. Burnett and Brad Penny, but yes, I would assume that, Joe.
Hey, what's the deal with the bow ties? Are we going to get into that at some point here?
Sure. And last year, of course, during the World Series, I wore them. Back then, I was under orders. Now I'm wearing them because I am partnering with Dhani Jones, locked out NFL free agent linebacker. He's got an initiative called the Bow Tie Cause. And basically what he does is design bow ties for different charities. He's got one for our charity on MLB on Fox coming up, Stand Up to Cancer, Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, Live Strong, even one for the 9/11 Memorial right here in New York. And Joe, the one I'm waiting for, the Joe Buck signature bow tie.
Here's a little fly ball into right center, and Gardner has his first hit of 2011. Well, sir, I don't know if that's ever going to appear, but I appreciate the thought, Ken.
Ken Rosenthal doing a good impression of Charles Osgood, one of my favorite people for years on the radio.
Absolutely.
All right.
Here's earlier today. That's Boone Logan, the left-hander in the Yankee bullpen, who came up, and I would be scared. You have to tie that thing yourself, right, Ken? I mean, you don't have any help.
That's right, Joe. I'm doing my best. Let's put it that way. It's early in the season.
1 on, 1 out. Derek Jeter at the plate. He singled and scored his first time up. And he takes a pitch over the inside corner, ball 1. Some of the finals rolling in from around baseball. If you heard Chris Rose before the game, he said that Kyle Drabek, who for the rest of his time in the major leagues will be known as Doug Drabek's son. Maybe someday that'll go away. There's a strike. Had a no-hitter through 5. The once highly touted prospect in the Phillies organization, and now featured for the Blue Jays in their win. They're off to a nice little start.
Last night against the New York Mets, Josh Johnson of the Florida Marlins had a no-hitter into the 7th inning, a game in which the Marlins beat the Mets in their opener this season.
You know, that was interesting that the Yankees had the same group on opening day start in back-to-back seasons, with the exception being behind the plate, Russell Martin in his first year. Meanwhile, the Mets from 2010 to 2011 had one guy, David Wright, who was in the opening day lineup last year and was in the opening day lineup last night in Florida. A lot going on around the Mets organization, to say the least. 2 balls and a strike on Jeter, who is 1 for 3 to start the season. There goes Gardner. Throw down, too late. And Gardner, who stole 47 last year, has his first of the season.
No chance for Alex Avila. He had a good pitch to handle. Just too big a jump by Brett Gardner. That little peek to see if Jeter was going to swing and put it in play. Gardner with his first stolen base of the year.
And Gardner in the leadoff spot with Jeter batting in the number 2 position against right-handers. That's the attack for Joe Girardi here at the start of the season. We'll see if that lasts.
Boy, Rhymes at second base. This is the problem with Gardner, and in my opinion, why Gardner should hit in front of Jeter all the time. If he gets on second base, what he does, he's a magnet for that second baseman. And Jeter's hole is on the right side. He hits 90 hits to the right side last year. That was twice as many as to the left side.
And now the count's full, 3-2. Here's Joe Girardi, who won it all in his second year as manager of the Yankees. Inked to a new deal. He signed through 2013 after a lot of speculation he could go back home and manage the Cubs. They stayed with Mike Quade, who ended the year last year taking over for Piniella. Here's a 3-2 left side, and the shortstop Peralta throws safe as Gardner gets in. And Brandon Inge wants to talk about it with a third base umpire, Dale Scott, and so does Jim Leland.
It was a fine play by Inge. Inge argues mildly. Johnny Peralta throws it at the feet. He tagged him on the left knee. It looked like the right foot was in there. That's a gutsy call by third base umpire Dale Scott. You know, with one out, you've got to make sure you're going to get the runner going from second to third, or trying to. Now, I think the tag was on the left knee. At least that's the way I saw it. Looked like the right foot was in there. The left knee curled up. He tagged the left knee while the right foot was there. One more look.
I think he's out. I'm going to disagree just to play devil's advocate.
Okay. All right.
It's first and third with only one out, and Teixeira takes outside, ball one.
I am convinced he was safe.
Okay. Well, that was a look at it, slowed down. That's how close it was. If the key was to make sure you're going to get that man at third base with one out already in the inning, Peralta didn't make that happen.
That's the point.
Here's the 1-0. There goes Jeter. And there's one into right. Way back. Goodbye. Just like that, it's 6-0 here in the second. Teixeira with another 3-run home run. He had one on Thursday, and he goes deep here in the second today.
Teixeira trying mightily to get off to a good start. A horrible April last year, the same the year before. Well, he's off to a good start. A walk and a 3-run homer his first two times up in game 1 and game 2.
And a breaking ball is low to Alex Rodriguez. Nobody gets more full extension of breath than Mark Teixeira coming out of the box when he connects on a ball. He starts almost hyperventilating coming out, huffing and puffing on his way down to first base, and that was a no-doubter as this one rides inside, and Brad Penny's first start as a Tiger is not good. 3 runs in the first, and now a 3-run shot by Teixeira here in the second. (3-0).
I just thought of something. Over the last 2 months, you are the only person in the world to have been the play-by-play announcer when Alex Rodriguez was fed popcorn by Cameron Diaz and fastballs by Brad Penny.
You are so right. It's over the outside corner, and they count 3-1. You're right. That was a moment that was much talked about after the Green Bay Packers beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 45. The end of a week in North Texas. Here's a 3-1 pitch, and that's a walk. Third of the day, issued by Brad Penny. Here it is. It was a live shot. We would not bring that back on replay. It just happened. He could have been doing anything at that point. Instead, he was just sitting there. I mean, Tim, if you're going to get caught doing something during a Super Bowl, is it that bad to have Cameron Diaz putting popcorn in your mouth?
No way, baby.
And then, then what followed, all the phone calls from Alex to everybody at Fox, and I'm furious, and I can't believe you did that. No, that didn't happen.
No, of course.
He didn't call anybody at Fox. Because if he has that number, I want to know what it is. I've been looking for it since '94. Hello, Fox. Yeah, hi, Alex Rodriguez. Did you just show me being fed popcorn during the Super Bowl? I am furious. never again will I talk to anybody with a Fox microphone. Somebody wrote that in the Chicago paper, and it did not happen.
Nope.
Here's a 1-0 outside. Then he had to talk about it when he showed up at spring training, but he had fun with it. And I think Alex has changed a little bit over the last couple of years, and the transformation almost started when he had to admit that he used steroids back in his days with the Texas Rangers.
Back in 2004.
That's off the hands, and the count 2-1. Enrique Gonzalez, who is the long reliever, is getting loose for the Tigers in their pen here in the second. Here is a 2-1 pitch to Robinson Cano. Line drive caught, one out there, and a throw by Rhymes goes into the dugout. 2 out in the inning, and down to second base, and now over to third base goes Alex Rodriguez as he takes 2 bases on that throw from Will Rhymes that airmailed Cabrera at first.
The rule is 2 from the field, meaning that if an error is made by a fielder in an overthrow, the base from which the runner started is first base, so that's why Alex Rodriguez is on at third now, not second. 2 from the field.
1 if by C.
1 if by C, 2 from the field.
Runner at third now with 2 out for Nick Swisher, and a ball low.
Speaking of Paul Revere, will be in Boston for the Yankees Red Sox next week.
At a new time. Huh?
Yeah.
It's a new time of 1 o'clock.
A new old time.
A new old time. Can we all do it? Can we all remember? Here's a 1-0, and that's inside. 2 balls, no strikes on Nick Swisher, who hit a sac fly to left his first time up. Here are the new acquisitions. Is that redundant somehow? Here are the acquisitions for the Boston Red Sox, and they're not alone. I mean, these are the 3 top ones, I guess you could say, but there have been a lot of additions to that club. That pitch is on the outside corner, 2-1. They've revamped their bullpen, which really struggled. Papelbon had a rough year. They've got Jenks, who showed you. Also got Bard, who was knocked around in their season opener at Texas. Here's a 2-1. 2-2.
Daniel Bard giving up 4 runs against the Texas Rangers. Rangers winning 9-5.
Next week, starting with This Week in Baseball at 12:30, and there are the matchups, including the Yankees at Fenway. Two balls, 2 strikes, runner at third, 2 out. Penny ends the inning with a strikeout, and Swisher lost the bat. That is strikeout number 2, but 3 more runs and a home run by Teixeira. 6-0. Back after this from your local Fox station. Is presented by Budweiser. As we welcome you back to Yankee Stadium, it's been all New York. It'll be Avila, then Brandon Inge, and then Austin Jackson, 8, 9, and 1 hitters. Alex Avila is an interesting story. His full name is Alexander Thomas Avila. His father and grandfather were known for the pronunciation Avila. But Alex got so used to people just mispronouncing his last name, he's just embraced it. And now instead of Avila, it's Avila. But he comes from a baseball family. His father is Al Avila, who is the assistant general manager for the Tigers. And his grandfather was brought in to the Dodger organization as a scout and became the director of international scouting, and was one of the people heavily involved in the development of the baseball academy that the Dodgers started down in the Dominican Republic.
Signing the likes of Pedro Martinez and his brother, Raul Mondesi, among many, many, many Dominican stars.
Alex's grandfather is Ralph Avila. And so here he is playing, and now he is the everyday catcher, a guy who came up last year and at least in September started to figure it out. Hit 268. Good breaking ball from Burnett. And the count quickly 0-2.
Joe, I have known Alex's grandfather forever. He is proudly watching the game, we know, from Miami this afternoon.
That's outside. And because of his grandfather's association, talking about Alex Avila with the Dodgers, Alexander Thomas Avila, he's named after Al Campanis and Tommy Lasorda. Here comes a 1-2 pitch from A.J. Burnett. Off the hands, flipped into left, and easy for Gardner. 1 away. We told you Brandon Inge, who's coming up, went to VCU. Here are his thoughts about their game coming up.
Well, I'm always a big fan of the Cinderella story and the underdogs, being able to compete in especially any tournament, and the March Madness. That's one that's impressive. But to have my school, who is also an underdog, oh man, I'm so pumped. I love watching them play. They seem like they're having fun, and I've been very proud of them.
Brandon is one of the real good guys in this game, and it takes about 2 seconds of that soundbite to see the smile on his face and realize the Tigers have a good one. He is the longest tenured Detroit Tiger now, and a guy who a couple of years ago hit as many as 27 home runs. He's done that twice in his career. And tendonitis in both knees, a former catcher, now a really good defensive third baseman.
He's gone from being a third baseman to being a catcher, back to being a third baseman.
Here is a 1-1. Good pitch from Burnett, strike 2, and the early returns on A.J. Burnett are very good. Here's some pictures of Brandon Inge in his days at Virginia Commonwealth. Colonial Athletic Association Colt Player of the Year in '98 as a junior. And won their second straight league title. Good play by Russell Martin with 2 strikes to smother that. Brandon was inducted into the VCU Athletic Hall of Fame in '04. Brandon, however, did not fill out a bracket this year for the NCAA tournament.
Why not?
I don't know. One year he doesn't fill out a bracket, his team goes to the Final Four.
Yeah.
That's a broken background ball to the right side. Teixeira flips, 2 out. VCU is in Richmond, as we talked about earlier, and it's approximately 50 miles from Brandon's hometown of Lynchburg, Virginia. Inge is now 2 for 5 to start the season, and with 2 out, nobody on, here's Austin Jackson, who does have a hit. That came on Thursday, but now he's got 4 strikeouts in 5 at bats. The numbers are staggering when this guy puts the ball in play. 396 when he puts the bat on the ball instead of striking out. That was his average last year as a rookie. Ball one, down and away. With 2 out, nobody on, a 1-0 pitch is high, 2-0. Peel down to C.B. Bucknor, no swing, 2 balls, no strikes. Austin scored 103 runs last year, the most for a Detroit rookie in 70+ years. Ended up hitting 4 home runs, stole 27 bases, and he pops it up right side, and it will drift out of play. Strike one.
The last time a Detroit rookie scored that many runs, Ted Williams was a rookie in the American League, 1939.
And so Jackson, who was the highly touted prospect for the Yankees and was the biggest piece of the puzzle going from New York to Detroit to get Curtis Granderson, waits for a 2-1 and now takes ball 3. Good velocity, good breaking ball for A.J. Burnett. He's allowed 1 hit, and he leads 6-0. The 3-1, full count. Well hit into left, back at the wall, and the Tigers are on the board. A home run for Austin Jackson to make it 6-1. And the Yankee fans throw the baseball back, and I'm sure Austin Jackson will like to have it. It's a 5-run game as Jackson gets the second Tiger hit of the day.
Austin had only 4 home runs last year, and in a 6-0 ball game with the count 3-2, anybody's going to look for a fastball. Burnett misses the location. You can see Martin setting up outside. The pitch was inside, and Jackson puts Detroit on the scoreboard.
Good fastball Burnett comes back with for a strike to Will Rhymes.
It's easier to hit and tougher to pitch when a team has a big lead. Pitches are more predictable. Get a 3-2, you know, if you're Austin Jackson, you're not going to get anything other than a fastball. You got it in the right spot.
Now a 1-1 count on Will Rhymes, who lined out his first time up. And there's a strike, strike 2. Rhymes, who beat out Scott Sizemore to get the second base job, and the Tigers have another player they like a lot, Danny Worth, who's down at Toledo. It can play anywhere over the infield. All of that while they are without their top second baseman, Carlos Guillen, who's on the DL, had microfracture surgery on his knee. And for an older player, it is no given that he'll come back and be right, especially to play defensively at second base. Counts 2-2. Rhymes has started the season 0 for 4. Last year when he came up, second half of the season, hit .304. That is slicing down the left field line. Gardner a long run, foul ball. And still 2-2. Jim Leyland with Detroit took the Tigers to the World Series back in his first season in 06. Guy who was there when the Pirates were dominating back in the late 80s, early 90s, was with Pittsburgh from 86 to 96, won a World Series in Florida in 97, Colorado for about 6 minutes, and then Detroit. This is the last year of his deal. He expects, and the Tigers expect, an extension during the season. Here's a little flare in the left. Gardner puts it away, and it's just a 1-run inning for Detroit. Home run, Austin Jackson against his former organization. 5-run game here at Yankee Stadium into the bottom of the third. His first time up, and he leads it off here in the third inning for New York. Granderson and Russell Martin will follow. Glad you're with us on the first Saturday of the season here on Fox in our 16th year. Right back up the middle. Peralta takes care of out number 1. Tomorrow, NASCAR on Fox moves to Martinsville, where Denny Hamlin will try to defend his title and take home his 4th straight checkered flag on that track. Coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing begins tomorrow with a pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific in high definition right here on Fox. Here is Granderson. Curtis, who just turned 30, takes a breaking ball from Penny for strike 1. When you talk, you bring up the name Granderson to Joe Girardi, and you ask him what kind of a season he expects out of his center fielder. He, at least with us, exhaled, leaned back in his chair and said, wow, I think he's really going to have a big season. And for a guy that had a strained oblique muscle and was iffy coming into the season, he had a brilliant game on Thursday. And he's done a ton of work with hitting coach Kevin Long, who we talked about earlier, in the work Long has done with Derek Jeter to try and eliminate that stride.
I was talking to Kevin before the game and asked him about his philosophy and his foundation. And the foundation player that Kevin was talking about, off of whom everybody,
base hit for Granderson, 1 on 1 out.
Everybody that he tutors can relate is Barry Bonds. The swing of Barry Bonds on keeping the inside pitch fair, everything. When Kevin Long was in Arizona, he went to the University of Arizona. Barry Bonds, of course, went to Arizona State. And Kevin Long said everything that Barry Bonds did as a hitter, whether it was to go to right field, keeping the inside pitch fair, everything, that foundation was the core of his belief in teaching any hitter anything.
Well, not everything he did as a
well,
hitter.
No. I mean, just from the, I know the steroid problems, the lying to the grand jury and all that. He's in the news today. But everything from a swinging standpoint, from a hitter's standpoint.
A check on the runner, Granderson over at first.
As I delicately try to get out of that.
Extricate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
You know
fascinating reading.
Yeah, none of the other stuff.
No,
but just from a swing standpoint.
1 ball, no strikes. The batter is Russell Martin, and he takes inside 2-0. More information on Russell Martin, who grew up in Quebec, lived in Paris. He was 8, 9, and 10, drafted by the Dodgers. He's a 2-time All-Star and signed with the Yankees after being non-tendered in L.A. Runner goes, and Granderson has a stolen base.
Alex Avila was almost standing up when he caught that ball. He can do no more than what he did. Fine throw, good release. Granderson with too good a jump. Say you steal a base off the pitcher. Well, both bases this evening have been stolen off Brad Penny.
2 balls and a strike on the number 9 man, Martin, with Brett Gardner, who has the other steal, on deck. Here it is. And a fly ball well hit into right. Back is Ordonez. Nice catch. And Granderson will have to hold at second with 2 out. Maglio, who's not known for the defense as much as he is hitting, had to go a long way, got a good jump, stretched out, and made the catch.
Good play.
So Ordonez catching his breath in right, and the batter will be Gardner with Granderson at second, 2 out in a 5-run game, 6-1 here in the third. Gardner's fly to left, singled, stolen a base, scored a run. He scored when Teixeira blasted a home run into right, his second in as many games against the Tigers. Strike one. Gardner, who hit over 300 prior to the All-Star break last year, then tapered off. Trying to prove he can stay healthy for a full season. Takes up and away, 1 ball, 1 strike. But he's the one guy in this Yankee lineup that can really run. Granderson's stolen a base in this inning, and really those are the two guys that will do the majority of the running for Joe Girardi here in 2011. Here is a 1-1 pitch from Penny. Strike two.
I went to a Philadelphia Phillies game in Sarasota, Florida, when they played the Baltimore Orioles about 3 weeks ago, and Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Phillies, said, "Who do you like in the American League East?" I said, "Well, you know, with the moves that the Red Sox have made, I guess they should be the favorites." He said, "I'll tell you, don't count the Yankees out." He said, "You know who I really like? That Brett Gardner, that left fielder." And he said it with emphasis.
Here's a 1-2. Penny makes the play. Talk about more of the American League East when we come back as we go to the 4th inning at Yankee Stadium, 6-1 New York. Is sponsored by the all-new 100% reinvented Ford Explorer. Drive one. And by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. You can join Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association in helping Japan's children in need. Visit unicef.org or text Japan to 864-233 to donate $10. Standard text messaging and transactional rates apply. For more information, visit MLB.com/Japan Relief. Fourth inning rolls in, so does Maglio Ordonez, who struck out his first time. It'll be Ordonez, Cabrera, Victor Martinez in what is a 5-run game, 6-1. As A.J. Burnett has been, for the most part, impressive here through the first 3. And he fools Ordonez with a good tight breaking ball, strike one.
Joe, I had dinner with Jim Palmer back in February, and our baseball talk rolled around to A.J. Burnett. And Jim said something about pitching that I've never heard before. Talk about it after this pitch.
On 0-1 to Ordonez.
He said the one thing that pitchers try not to do is to be a carousel on the mound. They want to be a Ferris wheel. And when they're a Ferris wheel, they stay on top of the ball. When they're a carousel, they stay outside the ball. I brought that up to Joe Girardi before the game, and Joe said, yeah, what a great visual that is. And I thought the same thing. A guy like Justin Verlander, who started game one for the Tigers, for instance.
Here's Teixeira, one out.
He is the quintessential guy of a guy who's a Ferris wheel, who stays on top of the ball. And here's Verlander. On Thursday, you can see that when the hand is on top of the ball has to go down. A pitcher has to stay on top of the ball for the ball to go down. So that's why it's better from a visual standpoint to be the Ferris wheel and not the carousel. And sure enough, A.J. Burnett in the last couple of years has had problems when he's dropped down and his fastball and breaking ball flatten out.
Here's a fastball poured into Miguel Cabrera, who doubled his first time up. And the first Ferris wheel was put into action
1893 in Chicago.
That's right.
World's Fair.
Here's a foul backing out of play. Count 0-2.
He was on top of that last pitch. You think about Sandy Koufax, though. You picked up about how far Sandy Koufax took it away in those pictures at Dodger Stadium last year. And there's a pitch where A.J. Burnett is more the Ferris wheel than the carousel. On top of the ball, and a pitch like that, the curveball cannot go down unless A.J. is on top of the pitch. If he's on the side of it, it flattens out.
The count's 1-2 on Cabrera, who hit 38 home runs, was number 2 in the MVP voting last year.
I was really taken with that visual thought of comparing the two forms of fun park entertainment.
You can add another one for A.J. It's been a roller coaster ride in his time with the Yankees. Two balls, two strikes. We're going to check back in with Ken Rosenthal after Cabrera does something here with one out, nobody on in the fourth. And a chopper. Jeter has time. A couple of hops over to first, 2 out. So let's revisit, Kenny, what we talked about the first time Cabrera came up, which was the Tigers allowing you to interview Cabrera if the questions only centered around baseball activity.
Right, Joe. And just to clarify what I said, I'm not saying that Miguel Cabrera is under any obligation to speak with me or anyone else. I'm not suggesting that his answers in Spanish at his initial press conference were not good enough. But in my opinion, and the opinion of others, I'm sure, it might be in his interest to come out and say, hey, I am trying on national television. And also this, if this were Alex Rodriguez, Joe, I doubt very seriously that this would be being handled in the same way.
Alex Rodriguez, who has always been in the spotlight since he came up as an 18-year-old shortstop with the Seattle Mariners and then signed that gargantuan contract to go to the Texas Rangers and then coming to the Yankees, finally winning a ring in 2009, and he was a big part of it in October. But yeah, I mean, when you're Alex Rodriguez and becomes conversation around the water cooler that he was being fed popcorn during the Super Bowl, I think everything else that you do, people are going to pay attention. Bottom line is Alex Rodriguez has been a run producer since the second he got to the big leagues, and his slugging percentage in the 7+ years now he's even been with the Yankees is top 5 in the history of this organization.
There's one guy who's driven in over 100 runs 13 years in a row, and you just saw him in your picture.
Breaking ball from Burnett, strikeout number 5, and A.J. Burnett handling Prosperity well. Bottom of the 4th inning at Yankee Stadium. It's 6-1. New comedy of the year is here for these security experts. Breaking In is just another day at the office. Christian Slater stars in Breaking In, premiering this Wednesday after American Idol, only on Fox. Here is Derek Jeter, who is digging in. Who are you waving at down there?
Waving to Yankee fans or Detroit Tiger fans, baseball fans. Joe's second game of the season. Come on.
I know, but you're these people down there.
Well, I'm running for office. Come on. Very unsuccessfully, I might add.
0-1 the count. Derek Jeter, who hit .270 last year, fouls it away. Good play by a fan down to our right, and the count's 0-2. Jeter has a hit, reached on a fielder's choice, and he scored 2 runs. Kenny Rosenthal was bothering Jeter prior to the game and asking him questions, and we'll hear the answer to one of those in a moment. Ball 1 down and away. Derek Jeter, who is 37 in June, signed a new 3-year deal. A lot of talk back and forth with the negotiations. They kind of got a little too public for everybody's liking. Whether it's Jeter or the organization, they eventually got it done. And, you know, you can talk about a lack of range like he used to have. You talk about a down year offensively, hitting .270. And I want to follow up on this with Kenny, who had something in his notes with regard to a lot of the players around the big leagues right now at that position. The bottom line is this guy has been the Yankee captain and somebody that has been involved with winning since he was, sorry, Charlie Sheen, I know that's your phrase, since he came up for a cup of coffee in '95 and then was the Rookie of the Year in '96 when under Joe Torre the Yankees won it all. Winning 3-2 pitch. Penny makes the play. One away. Ken Rosenthal asked Derek Jeter if this was hopefully a bounce back year for number 2.
Team's trying to have a bounce back year. You know, we didn't win. That's what you come here for. I don't focus on personal stats. Yeah, I'd like to improve and have a better season, but I think everyone would. And our number 1 goal is to win a championship here. So it's a bounce back year for our team.
That's kind of his answer as he takes the spotlight off his down year and puts it back on the ball club in general that lost in 6 games in the ALCS last year to Texas.
You think of the enormous postseason success that the Yankees have had with Derek Jeter as their shortstop. They won in '96. They won in '98, '9, 2000. They won a couple of years ago.
Here's the 0-1. Strike 2 on Teixeira, who has 2 3-run home runs to his credit already. Jeter passed Lou Gehrig in that career hits category, and now is trying to become the first Yankee to get to the 3,000 hit plateau in franchise history. There have been 27 total in baseball as Teixeira strikes out looking 2 out. And strikeout number 3 for the right-hander Brad Penning. 2 out, and the batter will be Alex Rodriguez.
The 5 players to get to the 3,000 hit category with the same team are all Hall of Famers, of course. Yaz, Ripken, Brett, Yount, and Kaline. With the same team to get 3,000 hits. So Derek, when he does it, will be the 6th.
Hard hit, but right at rhymes, and it is the first 1-2-3 inning for Brad Penning. Into the 5th inning at Yankee Stadium, still 6-1 New York. Major League Baseball unveiled the MLB Fan Cave in New York City. Mike O'Hara was selected to watch every game for the entire season on a bank of 15 big screen TVs. Goose Gossage, Austin Jackson, Paulie D from the Jersey Shore showed up on Friday to hang with 32 floor-to-ceiling windows, everything going on inside will be visible to fans on the street. Check out their activities on MLBFanCave.com. I wonder if Mike O'Hara is married. I didn't look at the video. Is Mike O'Hara of age to be married, or is Mike O'Hara like 11?
I don't know. Fan Cave.
The Fan Cave. It's a guy in his 20s, so yeah, he could be married.
Oh, okay.
If he is, that's going to be tested if he's going to watch the entire season in the Fan Cave. Here's Bosch with a base hit up the middle, and that's how the 5th inning begins for Detroit, as Brennan is now 1 for 2. It's not too late to play fantasy baseball at foxsports.com/fantasy. As always, Fox Fantasy Baseball is 100% free. Expert advice, draft kits, free live scoring, and much more. You can play today at foxsports.com/fantasy.
Tigers are going to have to go to the Bat Cave to catch the Yankees today.
But isn't that really how they're going to have to, I think, survive here in 2011? Here's another one. A base hit into left, cut off by Gardner, and it's 2 on with nobody out. This is a team that's going to have to hit to make up for some of the defensive deficiencies and maybe some question marks in this starting rotation.
Yeah, we talked about the Yankees having to hit. Obviously, every team has to hit, but because of the shortage of starting pitchers, the Yankees are going to have to score runs, and even more so when you talk about the Detroit Tigers. And Jim Leyland thinks he has the type offense who's going to score a lot of runs.
As you look back, it was a team that won 81 games last year. They lost 81. And they finished 3rd in the AL Central. They haven't won their division since 1987. They lost Johnny Damon, who's with Tampa Bay. Jeremy Bonderman, still a free agent. And they've added Victor Martinez, Brad Penny, who's pitching today, and Joaquin Benoit, who was a tremendous setup reliever for Tampa Bay last year, and they're thrilled to have him. 3 straight hits. As Avila gets one into left, and in to score is Brennan Bosch to make it a 6-2 game. And just like that, the Tigers are getting up off the deck, and they've made it a 4-run game here in the 5th.
And we talked about it earlier, that the best way to get A.J. Burnett was to hit him early in the count. Well, he's thrown 4 pitches here in the 5th inning, all fastballs, and 3 straight hits, played another Tiger run.
And even though we're just in the top of the 5th, action is going to start for the Yankees out in their bullpen. Saw Larry Rothschild go to the phone, and now for the Tigers, they have a chance to turn over their lineup as their number 9 man digs in. Nobody out in the inning. Burnett's up to 71 pitches on the afternoon. Here's Inge. Grounded out to first, his first time up. And a swinging strike starts the at bat. David Robertson, the right-hander. He is getting loose. Lead runner at second is Peralta. Trail runner is Avila over at first. Here's an 0-1 pitch. Over but low. 1 ball, 1 strike. On deck is Austin Jackson. Brandon Inge, who was drafted back in '98, been with the big league club since '01. Waits for a 1-1 pitch. Shows bunt. Runners advance to second and third. 1 out. Peralta to third, Avila to second, and now Tim McCarver will weigh in as to whether that was a good approach by Brandon Inge.
Well, he's bunting for a base hit, and when you're bunting for a base hit, it's not a bad idea. A.J. Burnett is not particularly adept fielding the ball. He tried to get the ball down the third base line, but not squaring around, bunting for a base hit. Didn't get it down the third base line, but back to A.J. Burnett, and the Yankees get the out.
It does go down as a sacrifice, and now you look at the defense as they play Austin Jackson to go the other way.
Infield back, of course.
Down and in, ball one. Jackson homered his last time up. He struck out back in the first. So the top of the order for the Tigers, who lost here on Thursday, trailed 6-0 after 2 here this afternoon, and now a run in the third, a run in this fifth, and a strike hits the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. A.J. Burnett trying to get through 5. Here comes a 1-1. Well done by Russell Martin to keep it at the plate. Ball 2. So it's a test here for A.J. Burnett and an opportunity here for the Tigers Penny has settled down on the mound, and now his teammates try and make it tighter. The 2-1. Ball 3. And now some of that wildness creeps back in as the last couple have missed by plenty from Burnett.
Austin Jackson got a fastball to hit 3-2 and homered his last at bat. He'll get another fastball here, probably 2 in a row.
Here it is on 3-1, and it's high to load the bases. First walk issued by A.J. Burnett, and that's going to bring Larry Rothschild out of the dugout to talk. Bases loaded, 1 out. And the Yankees are trying to coax Burnett through 5 innings. Hurry in to get your free Scott's MLB fan guide, available exclusively at Lowe's.
One thing pitching coaches do not talk about on the mound: mechanics. Only thing you can talk about right now, you're not going to correct anything. You correct them maybe between innings, certainly between starts. But when you go out there with the bases loaded, you try to be as positive as you can. And Larry Rothschild, one of the more positive guys around from a pitching coach's standpoint.
What an opportunity here for the Tigers. They have Will Rhymes up, and then their big bats to follow. Rhymes is 0 for 5 to start the season. He has fly to left. He's lined out to short here today. Burnett hits the outside corner, strike 1. Here is the 0-1, strike 2, and A.J. Burnett, who has struck out 5, as Will Rhymes set up. Maglio Ordonez on deck, then Cabrera.
Keep in mind, 1 wild pitch in this game, 16 wild pitches, second in the major leagues last year. So that curveball in the dirt, very tough play for Russell Martin.
Right side, Teixeira will take the out at first. The run scores, and it's 6-3 here in the 5th. Teixeira had a shot at the runner at the plate, but he took the sure out, up by now 3, as he picks up the second out of the inning on that ground ball RBI off the bat of Will Rhymes.
If it were the latter innings and Teixeira were playing in, then he's got the real shot at home plate. But because he was playing back, he had to come in a couple of steps. That's why he went to first with the 3-run lead.
And now the tying run at the plate, Maglio Ordonez, who's 0 for 2. Strike 1.
There you can see Teixeira playing behind the bag. So he had to come in 3 steps before making the play. First base, certainly the right play.
Peralta came in to score. 3 straight hits started the frame with Bosch, Peralta, Avila. A sacrifice bunt, a walk, and with the bases loaded, the RBI ground out by Rhymes. Here is the 0-1 from A.J. Burnett. Out of play, strike 2. Tigers trying to make this a game. Curveball from Burnett, and Ordonez chopped it foul. This will be pitch number 86, coming from A.J. Burnett, who rolled for the most part through the first 3, really the first 4, and this has been a long 5th. Base hit here by Maglio Ordonez would change the entire feel of this game. Good speed on. A base hit likely scores 2. Hitting over. And a big strikeout for Burnett, number 6. 2 runs in the inning. Halfway through it, 6-3. Yankees still lead. Saturday baseball is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. As we go into the bottom of the 5th inning here at Yankee Stadium, it's a 6-3 game, and Brad Penny, who gave up 6 runs to the first 2 innings, has settled down. 1 hit over the last 2. We'll deal with Cano, Swisher, and Jorge Posada. 6-3, the Yankees lead. And Cano, strike 1. Couple right by the Yankee dugout just got engaged. And a left-hander getting ready for Detroit, Brad Thomas, and there are, well, there's the happy couple. One in a Derek Jeter jersey, one in a Jorge Posada jersey. Part of the key 3. And now that tandem will unite in holy matrimony.
One with a road uniform on, the other with the home uniform.
That could be a bad sign.
Yeah.
Pitch is up and in, 2 balls and a strike.
Home and away.
On 2-1. Cano flies one into left. Back at the wall. That ball is in play, and Cano will have a double. Fan came awfully close. It looked like to touching that ball at the top of the wall. Bosch got it back in, and it's a leadoff double.
I think a fan did touch the ball, but it did not look like the ball would have been out. It looked like it hit the top of the wall. It may have gone through the hands.
I think the guy completely whiffed. I agree with you. That ball wouldn't have gone out.
I don't think so.
But I think the fan had an opportunity maybe to pull it into the seats for a home run. They could have called interference, but you just never know how that's going to go. And obviously you think of, I know, Jeffrey Mayer and the Orioles and all that other stuff, but
back in '96.
Umpires are going to get together. I'm with you. Your initial look, I thought the fan out there went right through his arms and hit the top of the wall and came back into play. And now they're going to go in and look at this on replay.
Yeah, I think the umpires made the right call. And, you know, it's a possibility that it could have skittered across the top of the wall, but I don't think so. I think it was a couple of inches lower. The hands actually obscure the view.
I think the call will stand. Meanwhile,
I do too.
A lot of ballparks, when you have fans that close, put a basket out there. You think about Wrigley Field, they have a basket out there where if a fan reaches out, it's going to go into the basket anyway, and it's a home run.
Right.
They do not have that here at Yankee Stadium. They don't have that at Fenway Park up on top of the Green Monster where there now are seats. But that fan had an opportunity, I think. I don't. It's almost like a football call where if a fan that hit his arm and went into the seats, I think they probably would have kept it a home run. Instead, the guy comes completely free of, I think, even touching the ball, maybe grazed his jacket. And because he missed, it's a double, and I think will stay a double. There's no way they can call that a home run.
I don't think so.
Let me dig into my phone here so we can do a DirecTV game break.
All right.
I'm ready. Bottom of the 3rd inning. 2-2 game in St. Louis. And Albert Pujols, on the 10-year anniversary of his big league debut, hits a home run. Hold on, my mom is calling now, so I can't finish the update. And then later with the Padres batting in the top of the 5th, up 4-3, Chase Headley singles to right of Jake Westbrook. And Jason Bartlett and Brad Hopp scored 6-3 San Diego. They kept it a double. And you can get every MLB game in the most in HD by calling 1-800-DIRECTV. It's a double for Cano, and the batter is Nick Swisher. Swisher, a sac fly to left, and he struck out. That's his day. 6-3 New York here in the 5th inning, and Penny back into trouble. Fires a strike. Talking to Jim Leyland before the game, he said the guy who's really helped Brad Penny the most as he's tried to reinvent himself after those 2 good years in LA was Dave Duncan, the pitching coach for St. Louis, and Tony La Russa when Penny was with the Cardinals last year. Got him to use his 2-seam fastball, pitch more to contact instead of trying to blow everybody away. With a 4-seam fastball that stays up. That pitch down and in, 1 ball, 1 strike. Looks like Burnett will go back out there. Here's one off the end of the bat to the shortstop Peralta, and Swisher an easy out at first, one away. Brad Thomas, a left-hander, still getting loose, and the closer for the Tigers is just getting some work in on the side to loosen up on a chilly day. Jose Valverde. Here is Posada, who has the DH today, is 0 for 1 with a walk. Breaking ball is in for strike one. Talked about a guy getting used to being a DH, and it takes a while for a player to get a routine. The common perception is, well, he just sits on the bench and gets his 4 at-bats, and in between chews sunflower seeds and roots on his teammates, and that's not the case. With batting cages that are off to the side of the dugout underneath, the video equipment that's now available to players as they can go back and check out previous at-bats. And that's something that Jorge Posada, who is a career .220 hitter as a DH, is going to have to figure out.
Yeah, he's never had that problem before, if that's a problem. But I'll tell you what's highly unusual for a catcher to have caught as many games as Posada has caught, and then finally becoming a designated hitter at age 39 after all the wear and tear he's taken behind the plate. It's a credit to his strength that he's able to do that he's still quick enough in the strike zone with those hands that have been battered and beaten for the last 15 years.
Pitch is up and away, and the count 2-1. Jorge Posada, who is in the final year of his contract and wants to play beyond this year.
Has caught over 1,500 games, and here it is, his first year as a designated hitter.
And the count's now 3-1. Granderson on deck. Leadoff double by Cano, and then Swisher grounded out. Two on, one out. And that's walk number 4. And that's it for Brad Penny. Jim Leyland out of the dugout. Penny cannot go 5 in his Tiger debut. With Granderson coming up, Brad Thomas is coming in a 6-3 game here in the Bronx. Brad Penny with the Tigers. There his numbers. He can't go 5. 6 runs on 7 hits. He leaves with 2 on, 1 out, and he gives way to the left-hander, Brad Thomas, Australian-born left-hander, who's been in the big leagues with the Twins and has also pitched in Japan. There's numbers last year, his 2nd year now in the Tiger organization.
Saw Curtis Granderson talking to Kevin Long about what kind of report he has on Thomas. And one would think Thomas will get ahead with the fastball and then throw that slider going away from Granderson. Granderson vulnerable to the breaking ball from a left-handed pitcher, and not many left-handed hitters is that different from.
Strike 1 on the outside corner. It has been a problem for Granderson up until the second half of last season, dealing with left-handed pitching. Curtis hit 183 against lefties back in 09, his last season in Detroit. He really figured it out last year. That's down and away. Changed some mechanics at the plate and ended up hitting 268 against left-handed pitching after the All-Star break last year for New York. Benoit, the right-hander, getting loose here in the 5th. To the right side, good play by Cabrera. However, and out at first as he just beat Granderson to the bag. Thomas was not there, and Granderson almost won that race, 2 out.
Well, that happens often with left-handed pitchers who have a follow-through toward third base. Cabrera, expecting him to be there, he wasn't, and he just beats Granderson to the bag.
And it moves the runners up to 2nd and 3rd with 2 out for Russell Martin.
Never see that problem with the right-handed pitcher, because when a right-hander follows through, he's going toward first base. A left-hander follows through, he's going toward the third baseline.
Here's a pitch over but low to Martin, and here is a regular speed look at the call that Stevie Bucknor had to make, and he got it right. Second and 3rd, 2 out. And a strike is into Russell Martin, who had a hit in his Yankee debut in his first at bat. Here on Thursday, he's 1 for 5 overall. Robertson is back up. It's now been a long layoff for A.J. Burnett. There is a ball that just missed the strike zone. 2-1. Runner third is Cano, led off with a double, a 1-out walk to Posada. They moved up on the ground out by Granderson. Here's a 2-1. 2-2. Russell Martin from 06 through 08 with the Dodgers hit 285. Hit a tear in his hip last year. He ended up playing 97 games. Last couple of years his average has been down. He's always been a workhorse behind the plate. Now the Yankee catcher, and he hits one in the air to left. Goodbye. 3-run home run, Russell Martin. And that makes it 9-3 New York here in the 5th.
What a way to introduce yourself to New York.
Leland stuck with a left-handed pitcher, had Benoit out in the bullpen. Trying to get Thomas through the rest of this 5th, and Russell Martin did this to him.
Down and in. Martin has fair power. Stops in home run 15. So now in his 2nd game, he's already homered and stolen a base as a catcher.
The batter now is Gardner, who is 1 for 3. Strike 1. From the Yankees' perspective, the opener could not have gone more according to the plan, which was to get a good start from Sabathia. It was okay. Same for Verlander of the Tigers, but then to get some runs and turn it over to that new combination of the bullpen with Chamberlain, Soriano, Rivera got the save. Now today, A.J. Burnett is through 5. They've had a pair of 3-run home runs as they're getting Teixeira off to a hot start. There's a strike on the outside corner. This has been a couple of good games here to start this season. Start of a long march toward October for the New York Yankees.
Good games by key people. I'd like to make a correction. I said 15 home runs was his high. That was wrong. Russell Martin had 19 home runs back in 2007.
That was his best year at 293, drove in 87, and stole 21 bases. Counts 2-2. Bases are empty, and that's ball 3. Three-two pitch. Squirted the other way for a 2-out base hit. And that's hit number 2 on the day for Brett Gardner. It'll bring in Derek Jeter. Jim Leyland talked about the importance of long relief because of his team's ability to hit, and how it's going to be vitally important for guys like Brad Thomas, Enrique Gonzalez, Ryan Perry, Villarreal, to keep the Tigers close so they can go to work with the bats, and that has not happened here in the 5th.
Jim Leyland hates the term mop-up man, meaning a pitcher comes in there to just mop up, because if you hold them early when you fall behind, then your offense has a chance to catch up. So far, not today.
It was 6-0 after 2. It's now a 6-run game again. The book on Penny is closed. 8 of the runs against Brad Penny in 4 1/3. 7 hits, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Here is a 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. Tigers came into this season a lot like they did in 2008, with high expectations. 2008 with a much different looking roster. That group won only 74 games. Granderson was a part of that team. Polanco, Renteria, Ivan Rodriguez, Gary Sheffield, Magli Ordonez and Miguel Cabrera were both on that team. That was a team that people said they are loaded. There's no way they can't win. And they won only 74. Here is a tapper that stays fair and is a base hit. Both Avila and Thomas looked at each other.
Well, if a catcher's got to make his mind up immediately that if he can't make the play, the pitcher can't. A left-handed pitcher has too much to do. If he makes the play, if he catches the ball, he can't turn, pivot, and get Jeter. So you as a catcher, you have the play in front of you, and you've got to call the pitcher off of that, because if you can't make it, it won't be made.
Brings in Teixeira, who again has 2 on in front of him. He went deep with 2 on back in the 2nd. Pitch outside for ball 1. Mark Teixeira, who changed up his offseason workouts, got right back in the cage quickly, trying to get off to a better start, and so far so good. That misses, and the count 2-0. Now Villarreal is getting loose, and Rick Knapp, the pitching coach, is coming out to talk to Thomas. And while they talk, we'll give you the Jeep game summary as we play here in the 5th. 9-3 Yankees. Teixeira with a 3-run shot. Russell Martin just went deep. The meat of the order for Detroit is 1 for 10. So 2 3-run home runs for Teixeira so far on Thursday off Verlander. And then today off Brad Penny.
Almost in the same spot. Up and in fastballs.
Now batting right-handed, he chops to Inge in the easy out on the force. Ends the inning. 3 more runs. Russell Martin goes deep. His first Yankee home run. It's 9-3 New York after 5. Sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball across the country, and by Lowe's. Lowe's, let's build something together. A.J. Burnett will leave. He can only get the win. He goes 5. He allows 3 runs on 5 hits. He walked only 1, struck out 6, and he gives way to David Robertson.
Remember a couple of years ago when the Yankees were in the World Series, they won the World Series, of course, their 27th World Series. David Robertson's dad, David is from Tuscaloosa, and his dad couldn't make the game. His mom came up, and the reason his dad couldn't come to the game, they're in the poinsettia business, and David is pitching his first appearance this year at Yankee Stadium in poinsettia weather. Like Christmas here, cold, clear. Christmas in Tuscaloosa, about late 40s on Christmas Day, around that.
First pitch is a ball to Cabrera, and now high 2-0. It's a 9-3 game, and Robertson takes the place of Burnett. What do you think of A.J. Burnett? I think all in all, the Yankees have to be positive about what they saw here today from their number 2 starter.
Yeah, leaving with a chance only to get a W, and that strong bullpen takes over for Joe Girardi.
Counts 3-0. Now Larry Rothschild and Joe Girardi will turn their attention to Robertson. On 3-0, a strike. Cabrera's 1 for 2. He doubled and grounded out. A Yankee bullpen that features one left-hander. Here's a 3-1 and a leadoff walk. Time now for a DirecTV game break. What a postseason Matt Cain had last year, and he's picked up where he left off. Getting a double play ball off the bat of Kemp. Strikeout there. It's 8-0 as they're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Giants looking for their first win. They've lost the first 2 to LA. You can get every MLB game and the most in HD by calling 1-800-DIRECTV. Here's Victor Martinez. 1 on, nobody out. Strike 1. Terry Francona, the manager of the Red Sox, was quoted as saying, "Yeah, we're going to miss Victor Martinez in our lineup, no doubt." Hit 302 last year as he gets a base hit here, and that is his first of the day, 1 for 3. Runners on at first and second with nobody out as the Tigers make noise here in the 6th. And then Francona said, "I'll tell you who we're really going to miss. Victor Jose Martinez, Victor's 6-year-old son, who is a switch hitter just like his dad and doesn't like inside pitches." Hey, what are you doing?
Come on, Dad. Ball was at me.
I mean, this guy, Victor Martinez, of all the baseball dads, I don't think we've ever done a game, you and I, where his son, Victor, hasn't been with his father.
That's right.
Always at the ballpark. And always trailing around after his dad. After watching that video, I'm sure Scott Boras is trying to get young Victor's cell phone number to make sure he can put his hooks into him now. 2 on with nobody out, 1 ball, no strikes. If he doesn't call him, I will. A walk and a hit. And the 1-0. 2-0, and David Robertson is struggling here after having a good spring, and he was hit or miss a lot last season.
The most impressive child that I played with, whose father I played with, was Brett Boone. Brett Boone when he was 7, 8 years old, and there's Boone Logan forming for the Yankees. That Brett Boone was good early. I even kidded Bob Boone, his dad, and I said, "Bob, I'll give you $50,000 for the rights to negotiate for him right now. This guy's going to be a major leaguer." And sure enough, Brett was a major leaguer for a long time.
And very productive second baseman with Cincinnati and Seattle. 2 balls and a strike on Brennan Bosch, who has a hit. 2 on, nobody out. And a shattered bat. Fly ball into shallow center for out number 1. The runners hold at first and second, 1 away, and Peralta will be the hitter. Tomorrow, NASCAR and Fox moves to Martinsville, where Denny Hamlin to try to defend his title and take home his 4th straight checkered flag on that track. Coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing begins tomorrow with a pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut at 12:30, 9:30 a.m. Pacific in high def here on Fox. Here's Peralta. Johnny Singleton scored his last time up. Ball 1 low. So Brad Penny, the starter, could not go 5. Yankee starter Burnett went 5. And this is the first inning of work for David Robertson. And what is, I think, a more dangerous bullpen for New York here in 2011. That's Swisher. 2 out.
What would make it more effective would be an effective job at Chamberlain. Certainly the addition of Soriano, who was a closer for Tampa Bay last year. I mean, the Yankees have 2 closers in their bullpen.
I thought you were going to go a different direction and talk about the return of Pedro Feliciano.
Yeah.
Another left-hander to help out Boone Logan. And, you know, this is a Yankee team that's going to have to contend with a very left-handed heavy Boston Red Sox lineup. So when they go to Fenway next week, as they stand right now, they will have only one left-hander available in their bullpen. Boone Logan, who we saw a moment ago getting loose, he has since taken a seat.
Joe Girardi telling us before the game that Pedro Feliciano is about 3.5 weeks away. He is still in Florida, injured.
Alex Avila has a hit. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI, and that's strike 1. Remember, next week it's a new old time on the air with This Week in Baseball at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. And it'll be the Yankees at Fenway Park as they get together for the first time this season.
Always an event. Greatest rivalry in sports.
Here's a 1-1. Strike 2. And for the Yankees, until the 1st of May, only 8 of their first 28 games are on the road. That's the good news. The bad news is the last 2 months of the season, they have a total of 20 home games in August and September. Here's a 1-2 to Avila. Hitting over. First 2 got on. They never moved. Bottom of the 6th. Yankees coming up by 6. Ball, and it is presented by Budweiser. Don Kelly takes over in right. Kelly is a guy who can play all over the place. In fact, is the emergency third catcher. And this is the major league debut for Brian Villarreal.
Only 23 years old, from Valencia, Venezuela. Actually lives in Valencia. He can tell his grandchildren his first major league hitter was Alex Rodriguez.
And his first pitch is a strike. You see the good zip, 95 miles per hour. It's 9-3, Yankees on top. They got 3 in the first, 3 in the second, 3 in the fifth. Lead by 6, and Louis Ayala is getting loose for the Yankees in their pen after Robertson got into and out of trouble in the top of this inning. Here's a 1-1. 94-mile-an-hour fastball misses, ball 2. Cano on deck, and then Swisher. Here it is from Brian Villarreal, down and away, 3-1. Rodriguez has been on base twice with a double, a walk. He's driven in a run, scored a run. And he hits one well into center. Back at the wall. Goodbye. And now Villarreal has more to tell his grandkids about his first opponent in the big leagues.
Granddad, what did Rodriguez do? Well, on a 3-1 count, he hammered it over the center field fence at Yankee Stadium.
I can just say, I think your grandma's calling us for dinner. Let's save the end of the story for later. It's 10-3 Yankees here in the 6th inning. And Alex Rodriguez continues to climb up that list. He's now 16 home runs shy of Ken Griffey Jr. for 5th on the all-time list, and now 46 behind Willie Mays for the 4th spot all-time. 1 ball, 1 strike on Cano, who's been on base twice. Down and away, 2 balls and a strike.
Tell you, Joe, all things point to a terrific year for Alex Rodriguez. Healthy, great shape, seeing the ball very well.
And it's that health part that allows him to play in more games, which allows those numbers to go up. Last time he played as many as 150 games, he was the MVP back in 07. Here's a 2-2. And that is out number 1 here in the 6th inning. We showed you the couple that got engaged a couple of innings ago and wearing his bow tie that maybe he'll wear to the wedding. Ken Rosenthal is sitting with him.
Thanks, Joe. We're here with Richard Van Tuleth and Melanie Bartolini. Richard, you asked her to get married today. Tell me how you came up with this idea.
Well, this is our first place that we always came on a couple dates here, and like we started having our connection. And what better place to have up on the Jumbotron and millions of Americans seeing me show my love to my girlfriend and now my fiance, which of course she said yes. And I love her so much, and I couldn't ask for a better place and a better time to be than here at Yankee Stadium with me and my fiance.
Now, Melanie, how shocked were you when he proposed?
Very. I didn't know. All of a sudden he says, look up there, and it says, will you marry me? And I look down and he's on one knee. I was shocked.
Now, there was some talk up in the broadcast booth about one of you wearing a road jersey, you, and you wearing a home jersey. No conflict there.
No, not at all. It's not like she's wearing a Red Sox one. That wouldn't be acceptable at all. So, I mean, road away, it doesn't matter. As long as there's no red in the jersey, that's fine with me.
All right, Joe, happy day here for Richard and Melanie.
Yeah, congratulations to those two. And a good answer to the whole home and road issue.
That's great.
And now Posada with 2 out, nobody on, a run home on the home run by Rodriguez, and there's a strike from Villarreal. Thomas went 2/3 of an inning, a run on 3 hits. No walks or strikeouts. A lot of home run. That's out of play. The count 0-2 on Posada. Jorge still looking for his first hit of the season. He is 0 for 5 with a couple of walks today. 0 for 1 at the plate against Brad Penny. Here is a 1-2. 2-2. Granderson on deck. Granderson has a hit in this game. Here's a 2-2. Full count. From 0-2 to 3-2. In the 7th inning, the Tigers will have the 9 1-2 hitters. That means Inge, Jackson, and Will Rhymes. Jim Leland's club, which had a 20-14 spring. There is a base hit to right. And the first of the season for Jorge Posada. He's on with 2 out here in the 6th. Well, you can help make baseball moments that kids will never forget. Go to ChevyBaseball.com to support youth baseball. Plus, enter to win one of 4 trips to the 2011 MLB All-Star Game, which is in Arizona, and the keys to a new Chevrolet. Here's Granderson. Back elbow. He holds high and he takes a pitch outside, ball 1. Villarreal on 1-0, misses high again, 2-0.
That base hit by Posada. Now everybody in the Yankee lineup, with the exception of Nick Swisher, has at least 1 hit this afternoon.
Swisher has chipped in with a sac fly back in the 1st. Here is a 2-0 pitch. Granderson, good rip. 2-1.
That's all you want in a major league at bat. I mean, obviously you want to get a hit every time up there, but you don't want to get cheated when you make an out the right way.
Here's a 2-1. Little clunker to the first base side, and Cabrera flips for the out. A run in the inning on the home run by A-Rod. It's now 10-3 after 6, and we'll return to the Bronx after this from your local Fox station. Sports charitable initiative. We are proud to wear pins during the 2011 MLB on Fox season to support Stand Up to Cancer and their work to fund groundbreaking research that helps accelerate treatment to patients. For more information, please visit standuptocancer.org/Fox Sports. If you have not done so before, it's worth reading what they are doing and the great work, and we are happy to wear those pins on our lapels every time we show up on camera during our Major League Baseball season as Luis Ayala takes over. And gives up a line drive base hit to center off the bat of Brandon Inge, who's now 1 for 2. Ayala was the last guy to make this bullpen when Pedro Feliciano could not answer the bell. He has been shut down. He is at least 3 weeks away. So Ayala made the team. Pedro Feliciano set a record, Major League Baseball record, for appearances over 3 seasons with the Mets. Double play ball. Cano and Jeter, 2 out. And Tiger fans will get their first in-season look at Joaquin Benoit, it appears, in the bottom of the 7th. The batter is Will Rhymes with 2 out, nobody on. So talking about having a second left-hander, you think about the Yankees in their battle all year with the Red Sox, a very left-handed heavy Boston Red Sox lineup with the addition of Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez, 2 left-handed batters, or D.H. Ortiz is a lefty, J.D. Drew. They do have the right-handed presence of obviously Pedroia and Youkilis. That's why even in the starting rotation, Andy Pettit retires, and they come up empty trying to unload a bunch of money on Cliff Lee, who goes back to Philadelphia. Both left-handed starters. And then the lefty they get for the bullpen is injured in spring training and can't come north with the Yankees out of Tampa. Here's an 0-2. Still 0-2.
Yeah, obviously there are other teams in the American League. I mean, they played the Boston Red Sox 19 times, but with that rivalry, those left-handers are all going to be missed.
An 0-2, down and away. So Ayala made it. They toyed with the idea of bringing Steve Garrison onto the roster as a second left-hander. Guy who was cut loose by San Diego last year. Here's a 1-2. And a pop-up will be easy for Gardner. It's time to stretch here at Yankee Stadium. It is 10-3 New York here on a Saturday night. Budweiser is sponsored by Just for Men Hair Color. Live Forward. By Chrysler, imported from Detroit. And by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB. How about that look? And we give you now the Just for Men Keep Your Edge Spotlight, and we spotlight and highlight the long ball for the Yankees through less than 2 games. First it was Teixeira, then Granderson. Teixeira again today. But they weren't finished. Russell Martin, a 3-run shot. And Alex Rodriguez is closing in on the number 5 spot on the all-time list. He gets his first. And just as home runs give the Yankees the edge, you too can keep your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard. And the 16 runs scored in the 2 games so far, 11 of them have scored on home runs. And this is a Yankee team that last year was number 3 in the major leagues with 201 home runs, and they led baseball in runs scored at 5.3 runs per game. That can make up for some holes in a rotation which they are trying to fill with Freddie Garcia, Ivan Nova, who is a rookie right-hander who showed some promise, and then Bartolo Colon, who didn't pitch, hasn't pitched in the big leagues since July of '09, making this Yankee team in their bullpen.
Arguably, Bartolo Colon, the biggest surprise in spring training this year for any team.
Here is Russell Martin, who gets a nice hand, and he's up there hacking. 3-run home run his last time up against the left-hander Brad Thomas. There's Bartolo Colon. As now Joaquin Benoit takes over on the hill. Villarreal in 1 inning allowed a run on 2 hits. The home run by Alex Rodriguez. Strike 2.
Jim Leyland getting Benoit in the game. I'll tell you, this guy can pitch. Joe Madden of the Tampa Bay Rays knows that. He was a setup man last year for the Rays, giving up only 9 earned runs all year in 60 innings pitched.
The 0-2. Ball 1. Benoit really set the market for a lot of the setup relievers. He signed in November, and then you roll forward in the deal that Rafael Soriano got from the Yankees, or Jesse Crane got Scott Downs. Career with the Dodgers. It's a valuable spot getting it to the closer, and Benoit will do that here in 2011 and for the next couple for Detroit. Two balls, 2 strikes on Russell Martin leading off the 7th. Here is a 2-2. Ball 3. And here they are, Rafael Soriano, and look at the money he got. $35 million over 3 years for the guy who led the American League in saves last year. Jenks got 2 years, $12 million from Boston. Benoit, there's Downs, Jesse Crane with the Chicago White Sox. Here's a 3-2. Line drive into center, and back is Jackson. Nice catch. 1 out. And the batter will be Brett Gardner, back to the top of the lineup for New York. There's the day for Gardner. 2 singles, a stolen base. He scored a run. Strike 1.
Remember a couple of springs ago when Brett Gardner was battling Melky Cabrera in spring training for the center field job. Brett 1 out. Melky was traded to Atlanta. I don't believe Melky's in the major leagues now. Oh, he's with Kansas City. That's right. Yep.
0-2. That's why Steve Horn is with us in the booth.
That's right.
All the time.
Steve to the rescue. He's rescued us countless times.
Like 6 or 7 times.
Already today.
Now I mean over 16 years. With 1 out, nobody on, the 0-2. Still 0-2. Eduardo Nunez has come into the on-deck circle, so Jeter's day is finished. And Derek Jeter is 2 hits closer to 3,000. Enrique Gonzalez was up earlier, and Valverde is up as well. 0-2 pitch. Check swing. Ball 1.
Yeah, that's one of the times where the pitcher and the catcher hope that he didn't go around. The ball got away from Avila.
Unless he ticked it.
Yeah.
Which it could have been a foul ball. They still have 0-2, and the home plate umpire, Jerry Meals, isn't changing it. So that ball must have caught just a piece of Brett Gardner's bat. That's ball 1. A 1-2 pitch is popped up. Will Rhymes is there for out number 2. Since this is the 2nd of April, yesterday was April Fool's Day. Here's some of the pranks that happened. Kyle Kendrick was traded to the Yomiuri Giants. Baseball characters Jimmy Pearsall runs the bases backward after hitting his 100th home run. And then back in 1985, the hoax, the curious case of Sid Finch, the Mets phenom that can throw 168 miles per hour. An article in SI and was from a George Plimpton book called The Curious Case of Sid Finch, and the Mets are looking for the next Sid Finch.
And a lot more.
With 2 out, nobody on, here is Nunez, who is pinch hitting for Jeter, who is 2 for 3, actually 2 for 4. Ball 1 outside.
Great article by Tom Verducci in the most recent SI about the radar gun and about how important it is for scouts to sign guys who can throw. Some quotes from Aroldis Chapman, the dynamic left-hander for the Cincinnati Reds. He was supposed to have thrown the hardest pitch ever thrown, 105.1 miles per hour. And that's his license plate number now.
Here's a line drive into right. Caught. Nice running catch.
105.1, Joe.
Wow. So Sid Finch's would have been 168.
Yeah.
We go to the 8th. 10-3. Yankees on top. Yankees. Nunez, who pinch hit for Jeter, plays short. Eric Chavez is now at third as we go into the 8th inning of a 10-3 game. Yankees on top. Ayala pitched a scoreless 7th. He is back for more. And he misses inside 2-0 on Don Kelly. Kelly gets his first at bat. He is kind of the catch-all for Detroit. Can play all over the place, even catch. And he takes a strike from Ayala. Here's the 2-1. A little high and tight. 3 balls and a strike. Big velocity from Ayala, who has bounced around in his big league career. Getting an opportunity and trying to impress here in game number 2 of the year. Here's one into right center. That ball won't be caught. Gets all the way to the wall, and it is for Kelly, a leadoff double. So Kelly starts the season 1 for 1 as he got ahead on the count, then ripped a fastball into the gap in right center field. Here is Cabrera.
Often determines whether a major league hitter is going to get a good swing on a pitch, whether he's ahead in the count or behind.
Cabrera 1 for 2 tonight on Fox. Cops at 8 Eastern, followed by America's Most Wanted at 9. Miguel Cabrera has a double, a walk. He's grounded out. He takes a strike. Padres beating up on St. Louis, and the Cardinals had about as bad a debut to the season 2 days ago as they could have ever dreamed.
Oh, a horrible game. All sorts of mistakes, throwing the ball all over the place.
Here's Chavez. 1 out.
You talk about a guy who's going to help a team. That's Eric Chavez, a classy guy, 6-time Gold Glover, as Boone Logan continues to throw for the Yankees. But Eric Chavez, such a good player for the Oakland Athletics for so many years, almost a dozen years.
He came up in '98. He's only worn an A's uniform in the big leagues. He's 33 now. Problem with him, with neck and back pain, he has not played a full season since '06.
He's had a tremendous spring training.
Right around the 400 mark.
Yeah.
Here is Martinez, high and deep to right center. Back at the wall, and a home run for Victor Martinez. And the Tigers just made it a 10-5 game as Martinez, who hit 20 last year with the Red Sox, gets his first with the Tigers.
Victor going up, looking for one pitch. He got it in that slot. Did he hammer that one?
That makes it a 5-run game, and it brings in Brennan Bosch, who takes a ball low. So no Boone Logan against the left-hander. It's Bosch facing Ayala and waiting for a 1-0 pitch. Ball and a strike. Burnett went 5, allowed 3 runs on 5 hits. Robertson went 1, allowed a hit and walk. And this is the 2nd inning of work for Ayala. Here's his 1-1. Strike 2. Talked about him, Bosch, having that great start. I didn't give you the numbers after that .342 first half for Brennan Bosch. 12 homers, 49 RBIs, only 2 homers in the second half, and he hit 163. Jim Leyland said we want something in between all that as he strikes out looking, 2 out. They're at the half with Butler leading by 6, I'm told. So a game summary if you're just checking us out. And it has been a series of home runs. Teixeira went deep, a 3-run shot. Russell Martin did. Alex Rodriguez had one for the Yankees as well. And Victor Martinez moments ago hit a 2-run shot in the top of this 8th. His first home run with his new club, the Tigers. Here is Johnny Peralta. 2 out, nobody on, and a strike makes it 1-1. Two and 1. There's the line score. You see how the Yankees jumped out in front 6-0, and for the most part, they have not been challenged here this afternoon. That's strike 2. Tomorrow, it's a matchup in this series as they wrap up with Max Scherzer for Detroit against Phil Hughes. 2 good young right-handers. The 2-2 to Johnny Peralta. Easy in the air to right. Swisher is there, and we go to the bottom of the 8th. The Yankees will bat. After the home run by Victor Martinez, it's now a 5-run game. Presented by Budweiser is sponsored by Lexus. Escape convention in the radically new Lexus CT Hybrid, and by the U.S. Postal Service. Next week, we return as the Yankees go to Fenway to take on the Red Sox, where the Phillies battle the Braves. Fox Saturday Baseball returns next week. Special time, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 in the morning Pacific, beginning with This Week in Baseball. Check local listings for the game and start in your area. What do you think about the NL East, Tim? And everybody was willing, it seemed like, to hand the division, maybe even the entire National League, to the Phillies because they picked up Lee and they had the great pitching anyway. They've gone through some injuries, and Atlanta should challenge them, you would think, with the kind of talent they have.
Oh, I think so. I think Atlanta has a very, very good ball club.
Here is Valverde, the closer for the Tigers, getting in some work. He deals with Teixeira and misses inside ball one.
They can't match, the Atlanta Braves can't match the starters that the Phillies have, particularly the left-handers with Lee and Hamels. But they have some very, very good young pitchers, led by Tim Hudson, Derek Lowe, Tommy Hanson, who's going this evening. But Atlanta, a very, very good club, and Dan Uggla makes them a better club.
Picked up from the Marlins.
How about the spring Chipper Jones had, too?
I mean, he was toying with the idea when he tore his knee last year of just retiring.
Sure.
And he didn't want to go out that way. And he was involved right on opening day with the first run of the year for the Atlanta Braves. And he can still do it as he is approaching the age of, I think he's 37.
I believe that's right. Jason Hayward, by the way, his first at bat, another home run. He had one last year as a rookie. And the 22-year-old homered in his first at bat this year.
Here is a 2-1 to Teixeira, 3-1. They say he went around. It's a 2-2 count. That's the crew chief Dale Scott. Teixeira didn't agree, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Told in my ear by our producer Pete Macheska, Chipper Jones is 38. Valverde with a count 2-2. That one is launched into right down the line. Is it fair? No. Foul ball. But nearly the 3rd home run in 2 games for Mr. I usually start slow Mark Teixeira.
CB Bucknor, first base umpire, had to wait because that ball was actually over the foul pole. And it's clearly foul, but Mark Teixeira looks very, very good, particularly left-handed. Both home runs coming as a left-handed batter so far in the first 2 games.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Valverde ready with another. And another rocket foul. Whatever Teixeira did to get ready over the offseason, we talked about him hitting earlier than he had in the past, changing up the offseason routine. It seems like it's paid off here with not just the home runs, but the swings, the looks.
Yeah, he's locked in.
Valverde was locked in the first half of the season last year, was an all-star, and was just brilliant. 19 of 20 in save chances. Then he had a rough stretch over the second half. That's inside a full count. Talked about it after the fact that his arm was really bothering him in 2010, but he didn't want to talk about it. That's strike 3 and 1 out here in the 8th. Talked about Pedro Feliciano not available to the Yankees. Free agent addition for their bullpen. Ken Rosenthal is with us. 266 appearances over the last 3 years, a major league record. He's on the DL for the first time in his career, and Ken Rosenthal, his new general manager, Brian Cashman, had some interesting words about Pedro Feliciano.
He sure did, Joe. Cashman told a group of reporters today that the Mets' handling of Feliciano the last 3 years was, quote, abusive, unquote. Now, he obviously was aware of how many appearances that Feliciano had made, but he acknowledged that the market for left-handed relievers was rather thin. I texted Cashman, asked him if he wanted to add anything or clarify, and he responded no. I was asked if his workload the last few years was an issue, and I answered.
Brian Cashman, who has been rather honest with his opinions with matters inside this organization. A lot was made of his disagreement with higher ups about unloading the kind of money that the Yankees paid to get Rafael Soriano. Whatever the money issue is, and it was a lot of money, 3-year deal, $40+ million. Here's Chavez with his first Yankee at bat, flying it into left center, and Jackson drops it. Chavez ends up at second base, and with the wind picking up, that ball moved on Austin Jackson in center field.
Yeah, it's got to go as an error on Austin Jackson, a 2-base error. You're right, Joe, about Brian Cashman. I mean, I don't think I have ever run into a more honest general manager in my experience in baseball.
And just to clarify the numbers, 3 years, $35 million for Soriano, who led the league in saves last year. Brian Cashman thought they overpaid. Either way, he's going to be thrilled to have him, whatever the money is.
Sure.
Because he solidifies the bridge to get the ball to Mariano Rivera, as Cano is just tied up with a pitch up and in, a foul tip for strike one. But a guy like Cashman, who is in the last year of his deal, being in this organization is basically the only job he's ever had. He started as a 19-year-old intern. He's in his 25th season. He's been the GM since '98. When he took over as a 31-year-old, he's won 4 rings as a general manager. And he has been very honest when asked. He was honest about Soriano and the money, and now honest about his assessment of the handling of Pedro Feliciano in his time with the Mets. Here's an 0-1. Good pitch in under the hands of Cano, strike 2. Valverde has to face an extra batter at least in this inning because of the error by Austin Jackson. Runner at second, 1 out, and the 0-2 pitch. Inside, a ball. Benoit went 1 perfect inning in his Tiger debut. Villarreal allowed a home run. Brad Thomas couldn't stop a rally. After Brad Penny, the starter for the Tigers, couldn't get through 5. Here is a 1-2. Still 1-2. Talk about Brian Cashman. You cannot look at this Yankee team and believe that as this season wears on, this roster won't be toyed with, played with, manipulated, changed around. As that pitch is over but low. And another thing Cashman was very honest about was his offseason, the Yankees offseason compared to the offseason of the Boston Red Sox. Where he said the Red Sox and Theo Epstein had a better offseason than he had, but the final chapter hasn't been written as they go through this season and try and upgrade, you would think, before the end of the year, the starting rotation.
For the Yankees, in so many words, during the season is their offseason.
The 2-2. That is third base side for Inge, who can't get there.
Of course, in a sense, you could say that about the Red Sox, too. I mean, if the Red Sox don't obtain Orlando Cabrera in 2004, trading Nomar Garciaparra, a very popular player, and then going on to win everything. I mean, you know, the Red Sox handle handle things about the way the Yankees do as far as the in-season trades are concerned.
That's down the right field line. That ball will hook foul. Foul ball off the bat of Robinson Cano, who is looking for his third hit of the night. How foul was it as it leaves our line of sight down the right field line into the corner about 5 or 6 feet. Boone Logan again. He's thrown a complete game out there. Third time he's been up. Ayala went 2. Looks like Boone Logan will finish it. What is now a 5-run game. Another 2-2 pitch. And a little pop-up out behind third. That ball is caught by Bosch. 2 out.
I see Robinson Cano with the famous number 24 on the back of his shirt. Of course, about 2 miles from here was where number 24, the New York Giants, broke in. That was Willie Mays back in 1951. And we talked about Brian Cashman, the song of Terry Cashman, Mickey, Willie and the Duke, or Willie, Mickey and the Duke, and the passing of Duke Snyder recently. And they're going to have a pitching change here. We'll talk more about the late Duke Snyder, the Duke of Flatbush, when we come back.
Over for the Tigers here in the 8th. Valverde, the closer. Jim Leyland didn't want to go too far with him. The error prevents him from going the full inning. And so with a runner at second, Chavez, 2 out. Here is Swisher, who takes the ball low. RBI for Nick. He has 2 sac flies so far this season. Had 1 on Thursday. 0 for 3 in this game, 1 for 7 on the year. Here comes a 1-0 pitch from Gonzalez. And a pop-up. Left side. Foul ball. Inning over. Go to the 9th here at Yankee Stadium. Detroit coming up. Trailing by 5. tomorrow. Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville. Denny Hamlin trying to defend his title and take home his 4th straight checkered flag on that track in Martinsville. Pre-race show is delivered by Pizza Hut at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific in high def here on Fox. Here's Boone Logan. He is the 4th pitcher of the day for New York. Ayala went 2, Robertson 1, Burnett, the starter who is in line for the win, went 5. First up is Avila, and he takes a ball outside. 2 runs against Ayala on 3 hits. The 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes. We're in the 9th inning and the Yankees lead by 5. And Bartolo Colon gets loose. Both managers trying to get some guys in the bullpen a little tune up, a little action after coming north from the state of Florida. Despite the lopsided score. It was 6-0, 6-1, 6-3, 9-3, 10-3, now 10-5. And a 3-0. Logan walks Avila on 4 pitches to start the 9th. Here is the game summary with the score. 10-5. 10 pitchers have combined tonight to throw 300 pitches. 15 runs, 5 home runs, 2 by the Tigers.
Speaking of summary, Joe, the number 11 that the Tigers are wearing on their sleeve, celebrating the life of the late Sparky Anderson. George Sparky Anderson, manager of the Tigers in 1984 when they won the World Championship against the San Diego Padres, and the manager of 2 World Championships with the Cincinnati Reds in 75, 76.
And with Cincinnati, he wore number 10.
Yeah.
As they retire that number in Cincinnati, and the number 11 for Detroit. Count goes to 1-2 on Brandon Inge, who's 1 for 2.
Talk about 2 of baseball's greats. We talked about Duke Snider, the bottom of the 8th inning, and then Sparky Anderson. They lived about 25 miles apart in Southern California.
Here's a base hit into left off the bat of Inge. And the Tigers are making some noise here in the 9th inning, trying to climb back in it. There is a late Sparky Anderson, 1 in 75 and 76 with the Reds, 84 with the Tigers. Inducted into Baseball's Hall of Fame in 2000 by the Veterans Committee. And then Duke Snider, part of the 55 Brooklyn Dodgers who won it all. 59 LA Dodgers into the Hall of Fame in 1980, passed away this year. So 2 of the greats, Sparky Anderson, Duke Snider. Honored by their organizations here in 2011. 2 on with nobody out, back to the top of the lineup. And the batter is Austin Jackson. It's Jackson now, Will Rhymes. Then remember, Maglio Ordonez was taken out of the game back in the 6th inning as the Tigers try and tighten this thing up a little bit. 1-0 pitch is fouled. Ball and a strike. And now Colon will move aside, and Mariano Rivera will have to get loose in case.
In case 2 other Tigers get on, if that's the case, the tying run would come to the plate, and Joe Girardi does not want anybody other than his ace if that's the case.
That is strike 2 on Austin Jackson, who homered in the 3rd, walked in the 5th, and bounced into a double play in the 7th. After a strikeout in the 1st, and he's set up here at a ball and 2 strikes. The 1-2. 2-2. Logan came out of the bullpen, walked Avila on 4 pitches. Hinged with a sharp base hit into left. And that put Joe Girardi right to the phone in the dugout. Here is a 2-2. Full count. And those who remain here at Yankee Stadium start to groan. Two on, nobody out, and a pop-up foul out of play. 93 from Logan, who, as we mentioned earlier, is the lone left-hander in the bullpen for New York. On deck is Ramon Santiago. That's out of play. Will Rhymes bats left-handed, so Jim Leyland sends the switch-hitting Santiago into the on-deck circle with the lefty Logan on the mound. Austin Jackson strikes out, 1 away.
That 3-2 pitch kept Boone Logan in the game. As he gets Austin Jackson, Austin has now struck out 5 times in the first 2 games. 3 in the first and 2 here in this game.
And so the switch hitter Santiago digs in, no Ryan Rayburn. With the left-handed hitting Don Kelly on deck. Strike 1. Santiago is the utility infielder for the Detroit Tigers, batting in place of Will Rhymes, who had an RBI groundout. Was 0 for 4 and has started the year 0 for 7. Here comes an 0-1 pitch. Strike 2. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. 0-2. Boone Logan trying to rescue this inning. A slow chopper to second. Cano takes care of out number 2, and now with runners at second and third, 2 out here in the 9th inning. Ryan Rayburn will come off the bench and bat for Kelly. There are the numbers last season for Rayburn, who was the starter on opening day. He's been up and down in his big league career. Hopefully he is finished with that. Again, coming up tonight on Fox, Cops, followed by America's Most Wanted. And Rayburn is trying to extend this 9th for Cabrera. Nunez gets a big hop and throws high, safe. And this game will continue on an error by the shortstop, Eduardo Nunez.
It's pretty easy to figure out that this game's going to continue with Mariano Rivera on the mound and not Boone Logan.
And that's going to be it. An error on a routine play. That throw took off. And those who remain are excited that they will get a chance to see Mariano Rivera. The Tigers are excited that the game continues with Miguel Cabrera coming up in a 10-6 game at Yankee Stadium. Is a save opportunity for the veteran right-hander, and Cabrera fouls it back. Strike one. Runner Rayburn, who reached on the error to extend it, was running. He'll have to come back in. As a base hit in this inning, it started with a walk. Logan goes 2/3. An unearned run has scored. Strike two. Rivera got the save on opening day, and he's trying to make it 2 for 2. The Tigers are one base runner away from having a chance, with Victor Martinez waiting on deck. Cano. Game over. The Yankees win it 10-6. We'll take a break, come back. A 4-run victory for the Yankees over Detroit. New York has started 2-0. Back to wrap up after this.